In this video, we're going to look at a trigonometric problem involving navigation and the law of cosines. Okay, so just point out, here's the formulas for the law of cosines. You got the triangle A, B, C. The side opposite A is little a. The side opposite big C, little c. Opposite B, little b, and so forth. Okay, and there's your formula. So this is saying that if you compute the square of side A, that's going to equal to the sum of the squares of the other two sides, which would be B and C, minus 2BC, and then the cosine A. Okay, that's the included angle between B and C. And it continues the same way. So if you take the square of B, it's going to equal to the sum of the squares of the other two sides. Okay, that would be A and C minus twice the product of A and C, and the cosine of the included angle, which would be B. And then finally, C squared equals to sum of the squares of the other two sides minus twice the product of the two sides A and B times the cosine of the included angle between A and B, which would be C. Okay, so those are the formulas that we have. Okay, so sometimes you're looking for a side. In some cases, you could be looking for one of the angles, A, B, C, and so on. So let's look at the problem that we have here. An airplane flies due north from Fort Myers to Sarasota, a distance of 150 miles, and then turns through an angle of 50 degrees toward the east. That could be north, 50 degrees east. Flies to Orlando, a distance of 100 miles. So part A says, how far is it directly from Fort Myers to Orlando? And what bearing should the plane use to fly directly from Fort Myers to Orlando? Okay, so you can set up your picture. I'll give you a few minutes here, or you can pause the video here, is what you should do, and see if you can set up the problem. Okay, so here we have it here. So here we have, at this point here, that's Fort Myers, and over here in this direction is Orlando. So the plane starts here at Fort Myers and flies north a distance of 150 miles, and then turns 50 degrees toward the east. That could be north, 50 degrees east. Okay, that's this angle right here. And so we're going to find, for part A, we're going to find the distance directly from Fort Myers to Orlando. So we're going to find this distance that I've labeled X right there. Okay. So keep in mind that this angle right here, so this is 50 degrees and this is a straight angle. That angle right there is 130 degrees. Okay. So here I'm trying to find X. I'm trying to find X. The distance directly from Fort Myers to Orlando. Okay. So according to the law of cosines, if I take the square of any side of the triangle, that should be equal to the sum of the squares of the other two sides, which in this case would be this side here. Remember, this is 100 miles. So after 50 degrees, you flew to Orlando, this is 100 miles. So this is 100 here, and this side right here is 150. So X squared should equal to 150 squared plus 100 squared minus twice the product of those two sides, and the cosine of the included angle between this side and this side, which that would be, of course, in this case, would be 130. That's 130 degrees. Okay. So there's the setup, and I pretty much showed you how to compute it from there, but let's just go down here over here then, and here's your setup. So trying to find X, so X squared should equal to the sum of the squares of the other two sides minus twice the product of those two sides, and the cosine of the included angle. Like I said, this is 130 here. Let me just clear this here. And then you just compute this out. Okay, pretty straightforward, but we'll go ahead and set it up in the calculator. So let's use the calculator. Again, we did it with degrees here, so let's check the mode. That's already in degrees, so we're okay. And then we'll just go this way then. So it's going to be 150 squared plus 100 quantity squared minus 2, and then the product here. So let's put in parentheses here as 150 close parentheses, and then 100 and this times the cosine of the included angle of those two sides, which is 130. So 130, and then we hit enter. Okay, so remember that's x squared over here. We computed the right side here, and that's x squared. So we want to find x. We want to take the square root of that. So let's do it this way: second, and then square root, and square root of this answer here. So let's hit second, and then come over here to the bottom answer here. Click on that, then enter. Okay, so we run it out to two places. We get 227.56 miles. Okay, 227. So x here is 227.56 miles. Okay, so that's the answer. That's the answer to part A of this problem. Okay, so let's go ahead then. Okay, so 227.56. That's x. Okay, so now we know basically all three sides. We know all three sides of the triangle. And of course, the main thing is we needed x, so that's the answer to part B, 227.56 miles. Let's clear this here. In part B, it wants to find this angle. Okay. So we clear this. Look at part B here. What bearing should the pilot use to fly directly from Fort Myers to Orlando? So basically, it's asking for this angle right here. So this would be then, since it's going north, so it would be north, and then whatever angle this is, and it's toward the east. Okay. So what would be the setup for that one? So let's do it this way. So I know that I can take the square of any side. Okay, so let's suppose we look over here on this side. 100 squared should equal to the sum of the squares of the other two sides, which would be 150 and x, which you already know. Okay, we know x, minus twice the product of the two sides times the cosine of the included angle, which of course would be this angle right here, angle A, which is what we're looking for. Okay. So let's, okay, so we have the setup then is 100 squared equals sum of the squares of their two sides minus twice the product of those two sides times the cosine of the included angle, which is angle A. Okay, capital A. So then we go ahead and basically we're solving. We got everything given here. We want A. So let me change this one. This should be capital A. So here's your setup then. Take the square of one side, in this case 100, should equal the sum of the squares of the other two sides minus twice the product of those two sides times the cosine of the included angle. Okay. So now it's just a matter of actually computing this out. So what we can do here, let's do it this way. We're solving for A, angle A. So what we want to do first is find cosine of A. Cosine of A equals to what number? And then take the cosine inverse of that and we get the angle. Okay, so let's take the calculator and we can do it this way. (100) quantity squared. Okay, so I'm just going to subtract, okay, over here, subtract these. So subtract 150 quantity squared, and then subtract the other value over here, that's 227.56. And I need to subtract that. Let's insert here. I want to minus. So 150 squared minus, or I should say 100 squared minus 150 squared minus 227.56 quantity squared. Okay. And then I'm just going to hit enter. Okay, so I get this number. So I've computed then, subtracted these values. So on this side over here, I have this. Okay, so we're going to divide this number, this minus 64,283.5536, divided by, solving for cosine, so by this right here. This product right here. Okay, so let's clear this, and so I'm just going to say divide, and of course we're dividing into this answer right here, so I'll put this in parentheses here, so that's a minus 2 times 150 times 227.56. Okay, so using parentheses here, just use the times there. Okay, close this, and let's hit enter. Okay, so then we get this number right here. So basically we have then cosine of A is equal to 0.9416352259. Cosine of A equals to this number right here. So to solve A, we take the cosine inverse of both sides. So on the left side, I would get A. So let me see, second. So it's cosine inverse of that number. So let's just do it this way. Second answer. And hit enter. And we get 19.67. Remember, we're dealing with degrees. So the answer to this problem then, okay, would be north 19 point, if I round out to one decimal place, or I'll just leave this 2 places, 67. That's going to be degrees, and that's east. Okay, so the answer to part B is the plane should travel at a bearing of north 19.67 degrees east in order to go from Fort Myers directly to Orlando. Okay. And that's the solution to this. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time, and you all stay safe.